morning and welcome to the Camnet Breakfast Show today, Friday, where we bring to you nothing but the best in business. I am your host, Dipram Shala, joined by my co-host, my beautiful co-host, Miriam Kaimba, to present today's show. Good morning, Miriam.
Good morning, Zippo. It's a lovely morning. We are towards coming to the end of the year. We thank God for the gift of life that He has given us this morning, and we're trying, to do our best, but bring nothing to our viewers, especially when we go toward the end of this year and come next year, January. We'll try to ensure that we bring nothing but the best in terms of entertainment.
We're remaining with 15 days.
15 days.
Exactly.
15 days. Imagine. I can't wait for Christmas. I can't wait for New Year as well.
You've heard there's no load shedding.
Well, talking about load shedding, Zipporah, this is one of the topics that we're going to look at this morning, the effect of load shedding on SMEs. We do remember that earlier this month, the Minister of Energy, Peter Kapala, was in Parliament and did announce that starting effective the 15th of December 2022, load shedding is going to start everywhere across the country. So yesterday anyway, I was expecting load shedding, but we didn't see that.
Yeah, even in my area, we did not have load shedding.
We didn't experience
but
that.
But today, looking at the elephant in the room, just in 2022, we saw the Constituency Development Fund, CDF, being increased from 1.6 million kwacha to 25.7 million kwacha. And in this was the funding of cooperatives. Now we know that most of these cooperatives are dependent on electricity. We've got saloon businesses, we've got, poultry, Miriam, all those things need electricity. We've got just a various, people have gone in butcheries and all those other things. All these things need electricity. And so yesterday, Miriam, we, sampled some of these businesses where the people are saying, this will increase poverty in the country. It will kill the enterprises. The issue of load shedding. They were challenging the UPND government, saying, "Are you not the ones who said when you come, this will be a thing of the past?"
And I saw a post yesterday. A lot of people were commenting on a post that the current head of state made in 2020 when he was still in opposition, that there is no reason for load shedding in the country. So people were referring back to that post and saying,
where's the
formula that you use? So these are the kind of concerns that people have raised so far. And moving forward, we hope for the best, nothing but the best. Yeah, exactly, because this is something that we were promised anyway, Zipporah, that when the UPND come into power, the issue of load shedding will be normal. But, 1 year down the line, the issue is here.
That also brings a concern when you talk about education. People need to study.
Yeah.
Because we don't know when the load shedding is ending. We're told for the foreseeable future. Exactly. So this also negative impacts, education, how children are going to study with the free education. So you find that the electricity cuts across different sectors. We just need electricity. That is a fact.
Exactly.
And so yesterday some of the traders were actually challenging, saying, what about solar? We need to see it on a large scale so that, we walk the talk. We don't just say, oh, solar, this, that, but have we seen it?
I know the issue of load shedding is beyond us, but we have to find means and ways on how we can address this issue.
And they insist that it's not load shedding, but load management, but anyway.
It is load shedding, whether we like it or not. Yeah.
Anyway, before we go, too much into the details, just know that at 8 hours, we're going to be joined by a financial analyst, Mr. Mwapem Sonda, to help us discuss the impact of load shedding on small, medium enterprises. And at that time, we're going to open our phone line so that our viewers can participate and give your views. How do you feel about the current load management that is going to be done? What alternatives do you have to offer to the current administration? But before we go any further, let's just have the morning boost to get us active this morning.
Hi ladies and gentlemen, Cholwe again from Cho's Fitness Gym at Camnet Fitness segment. Alright, so we're going to start with the stretching. Again, as usual, stretching, very important here. Top. You want to stretch those muscles every time before you begin working out. Stretch, Stretch.
I know exactly what I have to do. I don't wanna be alone tonight, alone tonight, alone tonight. Look what you made me feel. I'm with somebody new. Oh baby, baby, I'm dancing with a stranger. Look what you made me do. I'm with somebody new. Oh baby, baby, I'm dancing with a stranger. Dancing with a stranger. Dancing with a stranger.
Look what you make me do. Oh baby, baby, I'm dancing with a stranger. Look what you make me do. I'm with somebody new.
Jump front and jump behind. Go. That's gonna get your pumping, pumping, jump front, jump front.
Dancing with a stranger.
What you make me do. I'm with somebody new. Oh baby, baby, I'm dancing with a stranger. Look what you make me do. I'm with somebody new. Oh baby, baby, I'm dancing with a stranger.
Dancing with a stranger. Dancing with a
Remember, 1 minute. You can go longer. The sequence as many times as possible. Okay, next one. Here, take a deep breath in and out. We're gonna go for 10 to the side. We go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. The other side, we're gonna go for 10. 1, 2, 3. This is actually like a stretch also. 4, 5, that's 6, that's 7, 8, that's 9, 10. We go for 5. And this is a minute countdown. 2, make sure I breathe in. 3, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We go for 3. 2, 1, 2, 3. Next one, 1 minute. We're just gonna run on the spot.
I wanna hold you when I'm not supposed to. When I'm lying close to someone else, you're stuck in my head, and I can get you out of it. If I could do it all again, I know I'd go back.
Go at your own pace. If that's too hard, here, 1, 2,
I know I'd go
3. There's always something for everyone. Size, excuses, modified, beginner, advanced, intermediate.
It's not me. And what's the funny hiding? Everybody knows we got unfinished business, and I regret it if we didn't say this isn't what it could be. You could break my heart in two, but when it heals, it beats for you. I know it's forward, but it's true. You could break my heart in two, but when it heals, it beats for you. I know it's forward, but it's true. I wanna hold you when I'm not supposed to. When I'm lying close to someone else, you're stuck in my head, and I can get you out of it. If I could do it all again, I know I'd go back to you.
Then side to side, side to side. Breathe, breathe. Thank you.
I hope you did do one or little exercise with me. I made sure that I exercised despite being in my heels, and I made sure that I dragged Zipporah on set here and do that exercise to keep fit. Exactly.
As we prepare for our New Year resolutions, like you said, keeping fit and all that.
Yeah, it's very, very important. Anyway, talking about keeping your health intact and in shape, let's see what the doctors have for us this morning on those healthy tips.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Dr. Mainga Nalube. I'm with the Medical Women's Association of Zambia. Welcome to Health Corner. So this week we'll be discussing a very important topic. This topic is high blood pressure. I'm sure most of you have heard about it, know someone living with it, because it's a very, very common topic. Another name for this is hypertension. So if you've heard the word hypertension being used, the person using it is simply referring to high blood pressure. So this being a very common topic, it's very important that we are acquainted with it and we know what exactly it is, so that we know how to take care of our relatives with it and even take care of ourselves and also to prevent it. So today we'll be talking about what it is and the risk factors. So I'll explain later what risk factors are. So to begin with, we'll have to understand what blood pressure is. Before we know if it's high or low, we have to understand what it actually is. So blood pressure is the force with which blood passes through your arteries or hits your artery walls when it's coming from the heart. So I've talked about arteries. We know about the blood vessels in our body. So arteries are simply the blood vessels that take blood away from the heart to the other parts of the body, to the rest of the body. And then the other type of blood vessels that we have are the veins. These are the blood vessels that take blood away from your body back to the heart and then to the lungs. So in this case, I'm talking about the arteries, which are the ones that take blood from the heart to the other parts of the body. So we've mentioned that blood pressure is the force with which blood moves through these arteries. So it can either be high or low, but in this case, we're looking at high blood pressure. So before we look at that, I want to just discuss what factors affect blood pressure. So we've got three main factors that affect blood pressure. Our first factor is the cardiac output. So what's cardiac output? This is the amount of blood being pushed from the heart into the arteries. That's the cardiac output, simply put. And then we have blood volume. This is the amount of blood that's moving through your bloodstream. And then our third factor is resistance in the arteries. So I've mentioned three things. These are the factors that affect your blood pressure. So we've mentioned resistance in the arteries, we've mentioned the blood volume, and we've mentioned cardiac output. So any defect or any problem in these three things will cause your blood pressure to either become high or low. So I'll give an example of, let's say maybe resistance is increased. So if resistance in your arteries is increased, this will cause your blood pressure to become high. So we'll discuss how these three factors affect our blood pressure when we start looking at risk factors. For now, you should know that we've got these three factors that affect our blood pressure. So there are two types of high blood pressure. We have primary and secondary. So I'll explain what secondary is and I'll explain what primary is. Secondary high blood pressure, or otherwise known as secondary hypertension, is high blood pressure that's caused by an already existing disease, condition, or even certain drugs. We have certain drugs that have a side effect of increasing your blood pressure. So if you already have an underlying disease or condition that predisposes you or puts you at risk of having high blood pressure, this type of high blood pressure is called secondary high blood pressure. And then we also have primary, which has no known underlying cause. So this one just starts on its own. It has no known already existing. So this is in a person that does not have an already existing condition that predisposes them to high blood pressure. So we've talked about primary and secondary. Now let's look at the risk factors. Before I go into them, I'll explain what a risk factor is. So a risk factor is something that puts you or gives you a higher chance of having a certain disease or condition. But it does not mean that when you have this risk factor, you will definitely get the disease. No. So there are certain things that you could do to avoid or prevent or shorten the time or elongate the time, in which you get this disease, right, or condition. So if you have risk factor, it doesn't mean that you will get the disease. It just means that you can now put in preventative measures to avoid getting this condition. So one risk factor is family history. We have heard people, and even when you go to the clinics, people ask, the doctors will ask you, does anyone in your family have high blood pressure? Yes. So when they ask you that, it's because someone in your family having high blood pressure puts you at an increased chance or risk of having high blood pressure also in your life. Another risk factor is old age. So as people grow older, the chances of getting high blood pressure are increased. And then another risk factor is obesity and a sedentary lifestyle. What do I mean by a sedentary lifestyle? People who do not exercise at all. So you're always seated, you're always lazing around, or you have a job where you're always seated. Make sure you always put exercise into your lifestyle. Another risk factor is increased salt diet. So when we start to talk about the treatment later on, we're going to talk about how you can avoid having hypertension by changing your lifestyle, which are reducing these risk factors that I'm talking about. Another risk factor is a high alcohol intake. Another risk factor could be already existing conditions, which I've already talked about. Examples are diabetes and kidney disease. Another risk factor is smoking. And the last risk factor we'll talk about is race. It has been shown in studies that people of African descent have a higher risk of having hypertension in their life compared to Caucasians. So this has been Health Corner. I'm Dr. Mainga Nalube with Medical Women's Association of Zambia. See you tomorrow.
You learned one or two things there. The doctors did mention, a lot of issues with regard to high blood pressure. Exactly, Zipporah. A lot of people do not understand this thing. Basically, myself also. There's all these myths and stuff like that.
People think when you eat, these fatty things, then you're going to have high blood pressure. But we've seen even, younger people, slim people, having the issue.
Yeah.
So sometimes I don't know anyway. Some people say, like if you go to a hospital, they ask you, do you have any history in your family?
Yeah.
So it could also be hereditary,
which the doctors has alluded there. Anyway, right about now, we'll just go direct into our money market and see how the kwacha is performing against other currencies. So we have the US buying there at the United States dollar buying there at 17 kwacha 38 ngwe, and selling at 17 kwacha 73 ngwe. And we have the British pound there buying at 21 kwacha 53 ngwe and selling at 21 kwacha 96 ngwe. We have the euro there buying at 18 kwacha 52 ngwe and selling at 18 kwacha 89 ngwe. We have the South African rand buying at 1 kwacha 91 ngwe and selling at 1 kwacha 29 ngwe. Interesting.
Yeah. So those figures there, they were so complicated.
They were so complicated, but anyway, we managed to get them through. Yeah, exactly. And we have seen that we're still trading in the 17 kwacha. By the time we go, it will be 18 kwacha. Come January.
New year, new kwacha. Anyway, just moving on now, I'm looking at, an interesting story that happened yesterday.
Yeah.
Where two people were shot. I was looking at zooming the headlines. Where two people were shot. In SOS area, that is in Mandevu. Is it somewhere? Is it? It's under Mateo constituency. So, it's just so sad, Miriam, because we found the blood there on the tarmac. It was thick, There's one lot of thick blood. So, we tried to ask those people because there was a shop right there where it happened. There's a shop with CCTV. you know, and then now they're saying, no, the thing is blurred, you can't see anything. So I always wonder, like, what are those cameras for if they can't save the people? They're just for scaring people, like, oh, I'm watching you.
Yeah, exactly.
Because we've seen, you know, that there are these cameras these days, like in the USA, we've seen improved cameras where everything is clear, sometimes even sound.
But you know, I get worried if I hear, you know, a crime has occurred, an incident has happened involving, you know, gunshot and stuff like that. We're a peaceful country. Are we, you know, imitating what we see in American movies into reality, or what? Are we becoming a gang or what? No, it raises concern, especially in the way those people were murdered. Very, very sad.
It's very sad. Indeed, I can just go and shoot someone, you know, without any remorse. I was thinking about it this morning when I came to work. I'm like, how hard can someone's heart be, or how hard can someone's heart be? You just come and shoot.
At them. You point a gun at them without any remorse and
you go to the next person and shoot them. Like, no, people's hearts are, you know, somehow different. Like, I don't know, maybe they do drugs or something. Because nobody, you can't just do that with a clear conscience.
No, you can't. You can't.
That was a sad story. I hope police, you know, get to the bottom of this. Let's just take a look at that story on the murder case. Do we have the story ready on the SOS murder? Anyway, Miriam, as we await, you know, that clip, this also reminds me of the time when, you know, the police were talking about amnesty. They said they have increased amnesty last time, saying all those with illegal guns, bring them. But I don't know, people are still keeping illegal guns.
Yeah, a lot of people are keeping illegal guns. I think a lot of people are also, Zipporah, scared or, you know, concerned that if I, you know, hand the gun myself to the police this time.
No, but they said you will not be arrested.
People get it twisted.
And I think they even had a reward saying, is it 1,000 kwacha will be given to you for giving your gun?
Imagine, but you know, people still have this kind of twisted mind and concern and fear because they think, okay, maybe the police is just trying to play some tricky minds on us. But anyway, this is an assurance that they gave, but I don't know why people don't want to come forward and forth and, you know, hand over.
And then talk about guns, Miriam, I think maybe the prices are just too affordable. You know that guns are on 10,000 kwacha. 10,000 kwacha to end someone's life, you know. I think they're too affordable. Maybe if they were made like 100,000 kwacha and above, that would definitely reduce the crime levels.
And you know, Zipporah, I don't know. Last week on Sunday, I mean, this week on Sunday, we saw, you know, people use different means of killing people. We saw a couple, we saw a man who murdered his wife in Jesmondin using a sharp instrument. I'm sure the police are still investigating that case. It's a very, very sad. People are using different things. So to talk about keeping the focus to only say guns too affordable, what people are using all the means. If they're meant to kill you, they will definitely do that. But anyway, this is now where we need to, you know, sit down and look at ourselves. Where have we gone wrong? We're a Christian nation. We embrace the spirit of Ubuntu.
Miriam, when Ghana was declared a Christian nation in December.
In December, we're a Christian nation, and this is the time, and we embrace the spirit of Ubuntu in us. So why would we want to live like other countries where, you know, you have no regard? People walk on the street and just, you know, kill someone, okay, with guns and stuff like that. This is what we don't want to see.
Definitely. Anyway, let's just take a look at that story and we'll be back to discuss more in detail.
The residents of Lusaka's SOS area near the Chunga dam site woke up to a shocking murder incident as two people were shot dead in front of the family house of the female victim by unknown people in unclear circumstances. The shooting happened in the early hours of Thursday, 15th December 2022. The deceased have been identified as Bismarck Mushowo, whose age is unknown, and Alaida Lungu, aged 32. The Camnet TV news crew visited the crime scene and the funeral house. The family was gripped with fear, sadness, and sorrow as the mother to the victim shared with us the predicament of losing her daughter, who leaves behind two children.
Na mkwecho kuna isapa mbukolo bilo na itala mkwecho na chumu mkwecho no mbefya chilande fyo chumfu. So mwana wako akamuvendo kaisafuma. Nitwabika hapa pene hapa nemputisha alila. Yalile ya namba 1. Ya namba sile tuachisafuma. Akamwana kenda kamwana kakwaka umekavuti kwa batini mkoni ba mami. Aisa sura kali windo kulia hapa ja. Aisa mwana moto kabakaresha tuifuma pali mputi tukachisafuma. Kaya alengela kebili ona sanga aba umete ba mami ba ume. Kaingira fe tuachika kala muna ndomba tuasakama. Gamba kutuma amafoni ya leli lafye. Ileli lafye utokukaba lejele ileli lafye phone busy. Phone busy. Nachalala ida. Bamusenda bakabula na babene baipa yo yumugendo bamusenda bakamwimi omuntu. Nashibata nakubana okuvulwa. Nachala ida nile, ala ida nasho kumwingena kwata. Awe ida kana. Ndachiwerera mwana naisa mpimba beji. Ndomba na bantu bachi sana banemba babuma.
And the brother to the deceased also shared his views with Camnet News.
Forward to Zuluan. Chachua kunshito. So nabuka taxi. Panafika hapa. The motoka, nabura motoka chokera Cabo Road. Nango joina, then pa driver, namchama Burat Sabiri, then sister na eve Burat Mozi. So choka hapo natama ngwera kuno siku na kifika pa UTH dipena fera na kufera but driver hivi afa passport sister eva fera UTH pakajoti.
Zambia Police Deputy Spokesperson Dani Mwale says police visited the crime scene and have instituted investigations. Patrick Soko, Camnet News.
Quite a sad situation there. We even saw the mother there could not, hold herself. She could not believe it, Miriam. As a mother, you don't know that one day you're going to see the death of your own child. No, in fact, you don't even wish for that. Because, that's a sad thing that can ever happen to any mother. That's a sad thing. Because normally, people expect that, maybe the children are the ones who buy the parents, but then now you're buying your own child. And then they'll take care of you in your old age. But now it's you now burying your own child. And then I could just feel the pain that she was going through the time you were talking to her, because she couldn't even let out the words herself. She cried, emotion. It was, it's a sad thing. And just the situation, because I'm told from the time when they shot them, I don't know what time this was, maybe 2001. But the woman was alive all the time. She died when they discovered her and took her to UTH. She died from UTH. So I can imagine the pain she was in. My question is, when people heard those gunshots, didn't neighbors come out and try to see exactly what was happening? What time, yeah. And this reminds me of the things that we were talking about, I think, previously on the show, that there's need for patrols in these communities. So if police were patrolling that area, don't you think that woman would have died? No, she would have survived. Because police would have come on time. So there's need for patrol in these areas, in this compound. Especially that we're going toward the rain season. We're already in the rain season. And this is the time where, we expect, anyway, we are anticipating high numbers of criminal activities. We always have this kind of cases each and every year. So there's need for police officers to intensify patrols in these communities. It's just such a sad situation, but I really hope that, those ones are caught to make an example, because, they need to be taught a lesson saying, you'll be caught, you'll be persecuted, not like, we're still investigating all years and then it dies a natural death. Because we have seen most of the time when it comes to murder cases in Zambia, Zipporah, even the time that I've worked myself from the courts, we have seen that a lot of time a murder case happening in the country, a few are persecuted, a few culprits are being caught. Only a few people are being convicted again. And these are maybe some cases which are famous,
But these cases which are not in public domain, which are not known by the public, then die a natural death like that. Yeah. But anyway, what the other stories that we have for our viewers this morning?
So we have another story on public health from, Katambalala market of Mandevo constituency. So the market is in Chipata compound. And so, Miriam, at the market you expect, good sanitation, running water and all this. Then you find at the markets, there's this place where they throw, garbage, but they're saying it has been uncollected for 2 weeks. And they're saying the worst part is people even throw dogs there.
Wow. And this is
people
at
throw
the market.
dogs. Yeah, so they're saying when it rains, the maggots are swept to their stands. And you find that this is a market where people are selling meat openly. They're selling meat, they're selling
And
fresh
the flies
fish.
or what? Oh,
They're selling
God.
fresh fish. They're selling all sorts of things just in the open, So that just brings, a cause for concern. And you find that this is the market. If a waterborne disease breaks out here, you expect it to spread across. And even on that same food which is being sold, it will go everywhere.
It will go everywhere, exactly. But
And the thing is,
let's get direct into playing the story. We'll continue with our discussion.
poor sanitation in markets has remained a source of concern for many years now, due to the filthy state of most markets, despite them being places where various food items are sold. From experiencing problems of sewer breast right in the markets to uncollected garbage, challenges in these facilities have been rife. This is Katambalala Market in Lusaka Shipata compound of Mandevo constituency, where piles of garbage have remained uncollected for 14 days now, despite the traders making daily contributions of 3 kwacha each, much to their dismay.
Mabini haya tunayachoke sokulisa nyama painzi zonse zitoka pa mabini zibwera pa nyama akasitoma sitivaona kolela tingadwali pa mabini so afunika yachoke
mabini avali apa utipasa matenda onani tugula nsima kulesansi tuliera pamene apa panogulisa ni mankhwala akuli abantu mabinzi bonse mukhala pamene apa madaipa zikapaya viimbwa zwika mmasaka zwika pamene apa lombali yoike bwino pakupeza ntemo vununkha apa sitingakwanishe kuti vingaitetiani apa onani onani vanthu awo valalipo makastomo lomba kuti zigule zifuna lini kamba kachinji kamadoti ali pano.
The traders add that the garbage, which includes decomposed dogs, overflows with maggots to their stands during downpours, as the country is in the rain season.
Apa ni mapika mwaonera tipoti ni mapika ero inzi na vikusi paipaja imbwa vamataya pamene paja maiona so sichionesa mushe monga ife vantu kungala pantu paso at least council yachitandizirako ndise vantu naise vationako pasi tingadwale kolera matenda lani yapaka shuwa mwani ndiye tandizo netipenda makabanga market yatu.
Meanwhile, Lusaka City Council Public Relations Manager Chola Mwamba, when contacted by Camnet News, explains that the market is under a specific community-based enterprise CBE, which is responsible for waste management in that area. The traders fear the worst, including the outbreak of cholera and other diarrheal diseases, if the status quo remains the same. Zipora Mshala, Camnet News, Lusaka.
Indeed, quite a serious concern there, direct in the market. And one thing, Zipporah, I must say that despite the traders calling, vichose, vinunka, mama, shansho,
They pay.
But the onus should be upon them as traders. This is something that they don't want to see. Why should they continue dumping?
So they're saying they pay to the community. Like councils have got community-based enterprises responsible for collecting. So now they are the public relations manager of the Lusaka City Council was saying, no, contact the particular CBE that is responsible. The community-based enterprise responsible for collecting, because they should answer why they've not collected. But I feel like the council should take responsibility.
Yeah, they should take responsibility.
Them being responsible for sanitation and many other issues in markets.
Well.
So they're saying they pay 3 kwacha every day, for market management, including waste collection. So they're saying, why should we be paying 3 kwacha every day, and we're subjected to this situation?
But anyway, before we transition into our first interview this morning, where we're going to be joined shortly by our guest, Mr. Mwape Msondo, who's going to help us discuss our topic of discussion this morning, the effect of load shedding on the SMEs. We're going to play a story that was done by one of our colleagues where the Minister of Energy was in Parliament announcing that effective the 15th of December 2022, load shedding is going to commence. Let's get direct into playing that story and we'll be right back. In Parliament, Energy Minister Peter Kapala announced that the country starting the 15th of December is going to be experiencing a 6-hour load shedding. This is due to the low water levels in Lake Kariba.
We anticipate that based on the water levels, this will translate into a load management regime starting on the 15th of December 2022 up to 6 hours daily until the water levels improve.
This announcement by the government has caused panic among small business owners, especially those who highly depend on electricity for their day-to-day operations. Some small business owners in Lusaka's Kalingalinga compound are already worried how their business will be affected. While the government begs for patience, small businesses are going under one after another.
Ivo vepi za kutako so at this moment so ina ngoto musuva anasi usiku tukavamile kama wote zimwe chingira bana mamuna na mzanga ndipo subira ndimo na family zishani nimusemeza
ngati nikuendesa malaiti angazi takubaindisa ko half mtendere aendako lero kalingalinga nkalapo 14 hours like mwabenzo chitira jatai
kapulonga not konse
maybe
kapela mkame konse anasi mtendere kalingalinga maploti
yasianako mwende
pa engaunda kapani settlements yapwera ku settlements not as not
The topic of load shedding is not new to the country's curriculum. In 2015, Zambia experienced a severe energy deficit and crisis on account of low water levels resulting in inadequate power generation. During the time he was in opposition, President Hakainde Hichilema criticized his predecessor, Edgar Lungu, on the issue and urged the government then to come up with a lasting solution to end load shedding in the country.
Toka normal setting, no more corruption. Every day. Anazi usiku bana itia yaenda usiku. Usiku basi na usiku. 20 hours yangaenda